Hey, it's John at Tinderbox Arts. In this video, we'll be changing the spark plugs and checking the ignition coils on this 2013 Triumph Tiger 800XC. Now, it's my son's bike, so he's doing the work here, and I'm just running the camera and supervising. So he's really just looking for all the screws for some of the bodywork that has to come off. These two side pieces are kind of in the way, so we just have to take those off once he finds all the screws and not remove them completely, but just kind of pull them out of the way. And then there's a kind of a beak that needs to be removed. I'll show you here in a second so that the gas tank can come off. That's what we're really after here. So he tries to find all those screws, gets that little piece just hanging there out of the way. That's fine. He's checking for screws that he missed there. And then he can pull this beak off when he does the other side. So with that off, now the gas tank can be worked on next. Here he is on the other side, just getting some of those screws off there. Now, this screw right here is important. That holds the gas tank in position. There's one on either side. So he's going to loosen that, or remove it completely on both sides here. Get those out of the way, and the gas tank kind of slides out. So he's just going to give it a little bit of yank, and then he's got a block of wood here he uses to hold it up so he can reach underneath there and get all the connectors out. Those two lines he's holding there right now need to come off. Those are vent lines. They just pull right off. You can see them right there. So he's got that block of wood there so he can get access. He'll pull those vent lines off, and then in here, way inside here, there's an electrical connector there, a second one right here, and then there's the fuel line itself. He's going to come in from the other side. And he's got a trick he uses because it's really hard to squeeze this with your fingers. So he tries it with his fingers. It doesn't work. And then what he does is wrap a zip tie around the area where you need to press in. And that gives just a little bit of extra leverage. So he'll show you here in a second after he gives up on his fingers. Now he goes and grabs a zip tie and wraps it around there. And that just gives a little more leverage to be able to pinch that. And once you pinch it, you just pull it off the nipple, and you'll get a little bit of fuel splash, but it's not too bad. You can put a rag under there if you want. There's the fuel splash. And he'll show you here what he does with the zip tie in a second. Now you can pull that tank totally off now. Put that aside where it's safe, and you don't trip over it. Here's what he does here. He can't pinch that. So he grabs a zip tie and uses that little head of the zip tie as a way to pinch it a little more easily. All right, now we got the coils. There's 3 of them there. It's a triple. So he's just removing the connectors to the coils. Those white and green stickers there show you what the coils are. So those connectors are off. No need to label them. They really only fit one way, but that's the connector. Here's the third one. Now he has access to the coils. He's moved all the wiring and stuff out of the way. Now these coils can be a little tricky to get out. That one came easily, but you'll see in a second here, the other one is a little more trouble. And he gives up and goes and finds a pair of gloves because it was killing his fingers trying to yank that up. A little bit of twisting sometimes can help. All right, there it comes. And then one more to get out. This one is kind of under the frame rail there. A little bit of a pain, but once you pop it loose, it'll come right out. There he goes. All right, these coils are here. I want to check for corrosion or dirt or anything inside where you might not normally look. A flashlight is a good idea here. And just check them all just to make sure if there is corrosion in there, you want to clean all that out and just make sure it's a nice clean electrical connection here where it connects to the plugs. Now he's going to loosen the plugs here carefully. You want to be careful you don't get to one side or the other and crack the plug. So as soon as you get it loose, you switch to your hands. Now he pulled it out, but the little rubber thing in the socket didn't hold the spark plug. So he's using a magnet here to get it out. And we'll take a look at this plug here closely. See, first of all, you want to compare it to the new one, make sure they're identical. And these are. The electrodes are slightly different, but that's a different style. That's okay. But as long as the length is okay and it fits correctly, you're good. That little top cap there is not needed for this application. So he's going to take that off and just chuck it out. Other applications, you may need that. All right, so that's the way they go in. And when he puts the new one in, he's going to tighten it by hand. Always tighten it by hand, never with a wrench, until you get it finger tight. And then you can tighten it the rest of the way with a socket wrench here, keeping it centered. Not too tight. Don't be a gorilla. That's good. Now we'll check the coils here. We're going to check the primary and the secondary. On the primary, which is what we're checking first here, we want to see 1.2 ohm with this ohm meter as a maximum. And that is what we're getting here. So all three are exactly the same. And that's good. You really want to see them basically in the same range. They may not be exact, but in the same range. And then we're going to check the secondary coil. And that's where it attaches to the plug right there. And we'll put the meter on the electrode there. Now these are going to be a little bit different, but you want to see them in the same range. So that one's 11.2 or so. That's kilo ohm, I should mention. And this one is going to be a little different. But they are coming up in the same general range. That's what you want to see. Now this last one is, according to the Haynes book, slightly out of spec, but not a lot. So I'll check it here and you'll see what we come up with. It's very close, but just slightly out of range. All right, so whoops. We're getting 10.98 kilo ohms. So that's a little bit out of range, but, you know, it's not too bad. I think we can just leave it for now, and then next time we'll check it to make sure it hasn't changed or gotten worse. So the secondary, they're saying 11.5 to 12 kilo ohm, and we were just a little bit under that. So not awful, but not perfect either. Now these plugs we'll look closely at to make sure they're burning well, and these are nice and gray. No oil residue, really. It looks very good. We'll put a little dab of dielectric grease into the coil before we put it on there. And we'll snap that nice and firmly in place. You want to feel a nice, good snap. And same with the connector. When you put that on, you want to feel that nice snap in there nicely so you know it's well connected. So we'll get these three coils back in, and we'll make a note of that one that was out of spec so next time we can check it. And then we'll just dress all the wiring, make sure nothing was missed or put asunder when we were messing around here. It's always good to just make sure everything is where it needs to be. We'll get those connectors for the gas tank again and get them all in the right place. Get those ready. Now he'll put the gas tank on, slide it in here to those rails here, and then we'll use that block of wood to lift it back up so we can get his hand under there. Now remember, we got two electrical connectors. I'll get those on first. This is really the trickiest part, honestly, is just getting your hand in here to get physical access. There's the second one. And then he'll come around and put that fuel supply back on to that little nipple there. You can see the plastic nipple right there. All right, here he comes around the other side. Get that on. And don't forget about those two little vent lines towards the back. See, he almost forgot. There they are right there, all right? So we'll get those on. Now he can fit that. It just kind of slides home. And don't forget those bolts to go back to hold it in place. But for the moment here, it just slides home. Bike moved on him a little bit there. And then once that tank is back in place, it's a matter of putting the bodywork back on and you're good to go. There it is. Nice job.